Welcome back, focused learners. You know, if you've ever felt completely bogged down trying to memorize a new language from some dry, dusty textbook, well, today we're literally tossing that out the window. In this explainer, we're going to transform a totally everyday experience, eating out at a restaurant, into an absolute masterclass on Chinese vocabulary and sentence structures. By the end of this, you won't just be rote memorizing words, you'll actually be visualizing exactly how they function in the real world.
Okay, let's dive right into this. The source material we're looking at today approaches language learning through this brilliantly structured, totally immersive journey. Kind of think of it like a four-course meal. First, we gather our vocabulary, which are our raw ingredients. Second is grammar, the chef's recipes that bind those words together into sentences. Third, we've got reading comprehension to really digest what we've learned. And finally, life skills, actually applying these sentences to navigate a real-world restaurant scenario.
So here's exactly how we're going to break this down. 1. Essential restaurant vocabulary. 2. Navigating the menu. 3. Real-world conversations and costs. 4. Building sentences with grammar. And finally, putting it all together.
All right, starting with Section 1, Essential Restaurant Vocabulary, the raw ingredients.
Every great meal starts with the basics, right? And in Chinese, that means understanding these foundational food characters. We've got mi for raw rice, fan for cooked meal or rice, and tang for soup. Now, do you notice those little arrows inside the red boxes? Those actually indicate the exact stroke order. Writing these characters isn't just about drawing a picture, it's a very specific sequence of strokes. Following this exact order helps commit the shape of the vocabulary word to your physical and visual memory, which is absolutely crucial for recognizing these words later on a menu.
Now, to avoid total vocabulary overload, our source smartly categorizes new words into 3 distinct glass jars. This helps you mentally compartmentalize the vocabulary. We've got people and places on the left holding words like fan dian, meaning restaurant. In the middle, states of being, super important for dining. Words like for hungry, ke for thirsty, and bao for full. And on the right, core actions, like chu to go, and chi fan to eat a meal. By sorting your vocabulary exactly like this, your brain retrieves the words so much faster when it's time to actually build a sentence.
The source material throws a really great visual challenge at us here. Can you spot the visual difference between the Chinese character for buy and the character for sell? Take a really close look.
Well, if you haven't seen them before, here's the answer. Check out the 2 wooden signs on the right. Mai means to buy, and mai means to sell. They look almost identical, don't they? But notice the brilliant visual mnemonic we get here. The character for sell, mai, has a little cross or a plus sign on the very top. You can remember this vocabulary trick by imagining a vendor putting their goods out on a wooden stand with a crossbeam to sell them at the market. It is a tiny visual cue that makes a massive difference in your sentences.
Moving on to Section 2. Navigating the menu. Pairing words and images.
So here we have what the source cleverly calls a visual pantry. It's a matching exercise that forces you to connect the Chinese vocabulary characters and pinyin directly to a visual representation, basically skipping the English translation entirely if possible. For example, matching the characters for lu cha directly to the image of green tea, or kao chi directly to the roast chicken. This visual association technique firmly reinforces your memory. So when you see kao chi on a menu, your brain immediately pictures a delicious roast chicken, rather than furiously searching for the English translation first.
Now, what's really interesting about this layout is how it applies that visual pantry to a realistic restaurant menu. You see the steamed fish, zheng yu, and the fried shrimp, sha xia. But look down at that bottom ribbon. We have a highly practical, ready-to-use sentence, 这里的饭菜很好吃, which translates to, the food here is delicious. Let's break that sentence down. 这里 means here, de shows possession. Fan cai is the food vocabulary we just learned, and hen hao chu means very delicious. This is just a perfect example of learning vocabulary, not in isolation, but through complete, highly useful sentences.
Section 3, Real-World Conversations and Costs, putting a price on it.
This bulletin board perfectly breaks down the 2 halves of a real-world transaction. On the left side, we have our currency vocabulary. We learn that yuan or kuai is the main unit, kind of like a dollar, while jiao or mao is a tenth of that, like a dime. On the right, we've got our core action verbs, because to make a transaction happen in a sentence, you need to know dian kai, which means to order food, and hua, which means to spend money. You see, you can't just know the food vocabulary, you have to know the verbs of commerce to actually buy the food.
And here is exactly how those vocabulary words come together into a sentence when the bill arrives. The source actually gives us a precise mathematical formula for the Chinese sentence structure used when paying. It's incredibly straightforward. The formula is the verb ge, which means to give, or jiao, to give change, plus the person, plus the amount of money. So a sentence like "给你400块" literally means give you $400. Or for the cashier, 交你75块 wu, meaning give change to you $75.50. It's a structured, logical sentence frame that's incredibly easy to plug your vocabulary into.
All right, Section 4, Building Sentences with Grammar, the Chef's Recipes.
The source material distills some fairly complex grammar into 3 highly visual recipe-like sentence formulas. First, we have the both-and formula using yo to describe 2 states at once. Second, the as soon as then sequence using jo for actions that happen one right after another. And third, the first then formula using xian lai, zai lai, which is just absolutely perfect for sequencing a food order. Let's look at exactly how one of these sentence recipes is constructed.
Take a look at recipe 1 on the left side, simultaneous states. If you want to build a sentence saying you're both hungry and thirsty, you don't just link the vocabulary words with and. You use this specific structure. Subject plus yo plus state A plus yo plus state B. So wo for I plus yo for both plus for hungry plus yo for also plus ko for thirsty, resulting in the complete sentence why yo a yo ko. By viewing sentence grammar as a structural recipe, it stops being abstract and becomes a simple plug-and-play formula for your vocabulary.
So let's see how one of these recipes applies in practice. If we want to construct the sentence, let's order food as soon as we go in, how do we mentally piece that together using the vocabulary and rules we just discussed? Let's look at the solution. By visualizing sentence structure as interlocking puzzle pieces, it becomes totally clear. To say, let's order food as soon as we go in, we use the jo recipe. The subject is 我们 or we. First action trigger meaning as soon as, 进去 we go in. The resulting action, jo, meaning then, 点开吧 let's order food. Giving us the full sentence, 我们一进去就点开吧. Notice how the vocabulary pieces perfectly lock together? When you understand the formula, building the sentence becomes completely intuitive.
Section 5. Putting it all together. Serving the meal. But first, we have one last quick challenge to keep you on your toes. Spot the mistake. Can you tell the difference between the vocabulary character for thirsty and the character for drink?
Okay, look at the top example. The sentence is supposed to say, I am very thirsty. But the character circled in red is actually he, which means to drink, not ka, which means thirsty. They look incredibly similar, but he for drink has a mouth radical on the left side because, well, you use your mouth to drink. Meanwhile, ka for thirsty has a water radical on the left because you need water when you're thirsty. This proves exactly why paying close attention to those vocabulary character exercises earlier was so crucial to your foundation.
And this brilliantly illustrates why all of that matters when reading full sentences. Here, the source material seamlessly combines all the vocabulary and sentence elements we've discussed into a fully comprehensible paragraph. You aren't just reading isolated words anymore. Look at the second sentence. 我们上个周末去了一家广东饭店吃晚饭. We went to a Cantonese restaurant for dinner last weekend. It combines our places vocabulary, our action verbs, and our grammar structures into a real, fluid, narrative sentence.
If you can read that paragraph, you get to check off this mastery checklist. The source, make sure you acknowledge your progress. You can now recognize food market and restaurant vocabulary. You can use Chinese sentences to ask about prices and calculate money. You can understand a short text about eating out. And you can confidently order dishes at a restaurant. You have literally mastered this specific real-world scenario. This explainer wraps up with this really fantastic comic strip, showing all the vocabulary, the grammar recipes, and the conversational sentence skills playing out dynamically in a family dinner scene. This isn't just about passing a vocabulary test. It's about unlocking a real-world experience. Visualizing language, treating words like ingredients and sentences like recipes completely removes the friction from learning. So the question I'll leave you with today is this. Now that you've mastered the restaurant, what real-world scenario do you want to unlock and master next? Keep learning, stay focused, and I'll see you next time.